Semen retention, Kundalini awakening, and no nut November. So I want to make this video because, again, as soon as I make this video, I'm already got people laughing, and that's okay. You can laugh with me on this one, as this is a serious subject and yet has become, some sort of trend or thing. People have created this basically every November to do a month of semen retention. And 'tis the season, you could say, where everyone's indulging in gluttony. So rather than just treating this as a comical statement, please stick with me to the end of the video, and I guarantee you'll get something out of this. Guys and women will get something out of this. So understanding that semen retention is one of the first tenets in a lot of different spiritual traditions, but especially in yoga and Tantra, if we want to begin building the energy and the Kundalini and the prana and the different essential vital minerals, vital essential substances that the body is built upon, we have to start retaining our seed as guys. And what that means is refraining from ejaculation. And this is for different ages. There's, different frequencies of how often would be seen as healthy, but at the same time, you can practice this from a very young age. I even began practicing this right around the time of 17, and giving up things, abstaining from things like pornography and masturbation and ejaculation and all that sort of thing, that we're so programmed in society to just be a normal part of life. Oh, that's what society tells us is normal. It's what, the media tells us. Everything sex is so fantasized and over sexualized. Everything is over sexualized, even the food. Look at the commercials. Look at the different stimulating ingredients that are in the foods. And these are chemically designed to stimulate our nervous system in a way that elicits you could say, excited response to the nervous system. And any excitation to the nervous system is going to either want to be released or it needs to be channeled. So this is how Kundalini awakening works. We begin to actually channel our energy by practicing something like semen retention, by giving up pornography, by abstaining from excessive ejaculation, by refraining from overindulging in sexual content in general, because you could just go on Instagram nowadays and that's just as sexual, or any social media really. And it's just as sexualized as pornography and that sort of behavior, which is a more extreme addiction that can cause people. And I offer services and practices to help guys break those addictions, break those chains. Yoga and Kundalini awakening has helped me more than anything, because once you have a Kundalini awakening and you're starting to hear the subtle, you could say the still small voice of God, when you start to hear these subtle impulses from within of the universe, of also the mother of nature herself, and the emanations from God, that we do, a spiritual experience is always happening, no matter if you're at the store, if you're, say, when you're looking at all this pornography, all this stuff, or you go to the store. I've been working in a store, so I noticed this too. Just, sexual behavior is natural, or just the joking about everything's a joke, a sex joke or whatever, and everything can be seen that way, or it can just be seen as normal, so we have that choice. That's called, I think the term is hypersexuality that they use nowadays for that sort of thing. But I started spotting it out myself, as well as just in the programming that's in certain foods, and then also just how people react to things. So that's one way to look at this. Just all of these things that are overstimulating us, all this media, all this different foods and things, fast foods and these colors, it's programming us to be in our root chakra, our lowest chakras, our survival instincts. And our survival instinct is basically procreate, eat, sleep, all those self-protective behaviors. And we don't usually procreate most in society today when guys practice ejaculation, basically, is they're usually just indulging in the feeling or the feel good experience that they have. But, here at Yoga Tantra Healing, we teach how to learn to retain as well as refrain from the ejaculation, even if you are sexually active and you still have an active sexuality. You don't want to repress this energy when you're too young, because that can be a problem too. So I want to talk about those two extremes, from the extreme addiction to the one side to also the extreme, essentially what's known as brahmacharya, or absolute monk, never again doing that. And for some younger people, that can be challenging with a higher libido. Now, you may be able to channel this if you really put in your practice and your years of doing this, and for me, this is just normal now. That's why it's really nothing big to us now. It's just like, it's just another month. We're going to do our semen retention. We're going to build our energies. We're going to get wiser. We're going to keep doing our sadhana, our spiritual practices. And we know personally what's healthy for us now. You can do your own research into that. Master Mantak Chia is a great resource for learning all about the Taoist tantric methods of self-cultivation, as well as with a partner. Anyways, in this month, we're practicing that continence, or that ability to abstain, to actually stay charged from within. You're going to experience a charge if you've done this. And even if you're just seeing this video and you always think it's a joke, you hear this stuff and you're just starting today, like, start your journey now. I've been doing this since I was 17. I'm 29 now. So that's 12 years, going 13 years of just giving up these otherwise simple pleasures and things that people see as normal, and people would call me a joke, or people would call the material I'm experiencing as something that isn't profound. But no, once you give these things up, you actually will start to experience a different sensation that isn't entirely sexual, but it feels more blissful than sexual energy, and that is Kundalini. So this is when you've actually risen that energy from that lowest chakra, from those lower animal urges and desires, and you're choosing to not just go engage in frivolous, sexual activity or promiscuity, which can be just as harming as, again, the other extreme of either suppressing the energy entirely when you're not ready for that, and also the basically just porn addiction, and you're stuck in that loop of every day, or even if you try semen retention, you'll last a week, and then what people have is relapse, or whatever they call, and they get so stuck in that cycle. And it's just like, just find a discipline and stick to it. And the more you can do that, even if that's all you can do, like, it would be better to say that's what you did to yourself and then keep repeating that consciously until you can undo it, rather than like falling into it. But it's up to you to say, okay, I can do a whole month of semen retention. Even if you didn't do it in November, if you couldn't last, do it through December. We're going to continue. And that's why I said, if you want to laugh at me, go ahead, but laugh with me, because I'm still enjoying life. I'm laughing, I'm singing, I'm dancing. I'm also, able to discern when people are being essentially passive aggressive and bullying and doing stuff like that. And I'm able to be more conscious of how I respond to people as I've gone on my semen retention journey too. So you will experience that, because you'll naturally have more testosterone, more energy, more physical fluids that are preserved in your body. So this stuff really is what you could say, even science now, scientific. It's all there for us to see what is our potential. And there's so much resources on the internet now for Kundalini awakening, and how essentially the cerebral spinal fluids and the semen retention is such an important part of that if you haven't seen those other videos I've made where I'm more explicit on that journey and what it means, you can go check out how semen retention is, a must for Kundalini awakening, basically. And this is a continuation of that, to show up for everybody and be like, we're still here, we're still doing this, we've been doing this. That's how we create all this content, all these meditations, and build up this energy for these mantras, and essentially channel that through source for everyone here. So I didn't want to make this video too long, because this topic has been talked about so much, and I think everyone just needs a little breath of fresh air on these topics, that sexuality is perfectly natural and also a part of awakening. So you can't run away from your body, you can't run away from your mind, you can't run away from the reality that everywhere is sexual programming. You're going to see it for the rest of your life. It's on TV, it's in the music, it's in the food. It's also just out anywhere you could go. If you wanted to go to a bar or a club or whatever, there it is for you, you know. So I'm not here to say that you have to be so detached from the world, and even tantric perspectives will give you the idea of seeing these things as just another experience, but still not getting trapped in them, understanding that there is a difference. And a lot of people will go to the extremes of being trapped in these experiences, and then they hear something like semen retention or No Nut November, and or they might be treating you differently, or they might not understand it themselves. You know, it's because they have a glitch basically in their mind, and this is perfectly natural. You're supposed to be in tune with your energy. You're supposed to be able to be abstinent and choose that choice to actually be free from material desires, which will actually elevate you higher in a spiritual dimension. And then you can also manifest that physically if you so choose and desire, which is part of the process of retention. So the more you do this, the more you'll be able to manifest and create into your reality. And that is a huge benefit, let alone just the health benefits of having all of our fluids, our minerals, our zinc, our amino acids, everything nourishing the brain and giving us that functionality to just do more than is normal and required, because much is required. And when we're called to do more, then that's what we'll have to bring. So even greater things, as Christ spoke of, as that message rings forever, we too shall do greater things. And having that ability to abstain from the world and the worldly ways of existing, especially when you're into this spirituality. Like, it's one thing if you want to just be worldly, go be worldly then. Don't get into spirituality. Don't think you're going to have a Kundalini awakening. Don't think that you can just do all this stuff and it's going to be okay, because eventually you may get that call and then you'll see, oh wow, this has been taking me away from you, Creator. This has been taking me away from you, God. And the sooner I can get back to what is true, then I can remember, then I can actually be who you called me to be and not just what the world has created for us all. So the sooner you can break those spells, essentially, and cycles, the sooner you will be able to find what is truly natural, you know, healthy for you. And you'll probably attract a partner. You know, it may take a few years, but you'll actually attract the right partner to do these practices with, and to have sexuality be something that's a positive experience for you and not something that's suppressed or just hushed behind closed doors and all those things. Like, it's okay to experience your body, but with this, you know, month, we have that topic and that motivation. Like, let's keep that energy and let's keep that through the winter time, especially if you're in a colder climate like here in North America and Virginia. We get pretty cold winters, so it's always a great time. I like to do a little extra semen retention than, you know, some might see as normal or whatever, and that can just help you basically stay charged through the wintertime when everyone else is becoming dross and sluggish and tamas. Basically, you can keep some of that rajas and sattva that you built up over the year in the spring and the summer, and then still go into that tamas with understanding, you know, that the wintertime is things are meant to die back a little bit, and you know, you can relax a little bit more. But the more retention that you hold, the easier that vibration is going to be held throughout the entire winter. And then you come through the new year with more joy and positivity in the springtime. It's just always been a very positive spiritual and physical experience for me that I've noticed the more I've done this path. So just want to encourage all the guys out there, and all the women as well. Encourage your guys. Or maybe watch some of the other videos. Check out Montauk Chia's stuff for the real deal if you really want to learn how to take that your sexuality to the next level and not be so programmed to like view this energy as something evil or something bad or wrong, when everyone has sexual impulses that they act on daily, and they can try to deny it or they suppress them. And those two extremes are to be met in the heart, where you can actually consciously choose how strong you want to be, how much energy you want to have, how much connection in your body do you want to have to the Most High, because this is the ability to create life for a guy. And just one day you can build that much energy. If you can basically populate, there's millions of sperm cells in one ejaculation, and that's millions of potential for life, then you could be saving millions of lives a day just by practicing semen retention. So think of it that way. Get a little more drastic with it without being an extremist. Understand the drastic, put some emotion into it. Like, yeah, I'm making this change, and what this is doing for me is actually rewriting my nervous system to experience sexuality in a different way. And it's also rewriting my ability to experience the normal reality in a new way, where I am connected to the essence of God and the Spirit in all things. And that's a pretty clear path that's been defined many traditions, like I've said before. So you can do your research on that. And if you need real guidance, check the links in the description. You can reach out to us directly. We can do some sessions. And I can also talk to you about these things, how to make these changes in your mind, because really it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. And as soon as you can train the body, then the mind will follow. And then if your spirit is the one driving all that, if your connection to God and to Source and the soul and awakening to the Goddess and the Mother is what you want to experience in life, because then you will see a woman as a different thing. You're like, yeah, we can create life, or we can do Tantra together. We can build this energy, this sexual energy, this sexual tension, this sexual electricity, instead of wasting the energy. And as we learn to choose either of those paths, the abstinence or with a partner, you'll basically experience, you won't want to go back, and if you do, that's up to you, that's just your choice. But for me, I've always had that way of habit building and habit breaking. Sometimes you have good habits, sometimes you have bad habits. In between there, you have a little bit of both, but you know what choices to make that are going to ultimately lead you in the right direction every single day. And that's when you've essentially overcome habits and cycles, and you just make conscious choices every day. Just like with your sexual energy, you have a conscious choice every day. Are you going to waste it on all this, crap and pornography and pedophilia and sick darkness that they show the world, and, all these things, all these people? And that's normal, that's perfectly fine. But then essentially, you come on here and you're just like, hey, we can all get along, sing some mantras, like maybe, chill on the amount of sexual energy we're emitting, because that's why when you suppress it, bad things start to happen. And so the expression and the suppression is important. I'm going to make a video on that coming up soon. This is to round off the month with something, just positive, as well as eye-opening for everyone out there that, yeah, the sexualized media, the sexualized just way things are seen to be is cool, because everyone has sexual energy, and that's why they say sex sells. But then understand that you can actually take this energy higher instead of being suppressed in these lower chakras only. And the ways that it can be expressed through those, you can bring it up into the heart chakra through love for others, love for your partner, love for one another, love for the Mother Earth, love for each other, for the Father, for the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and everyone. And that unity of faith that overcomes the worlds. Literally, he overcame the worlds. Look at the life of Jesus. If you look at the life of Jesus, you'll see he was definitely at least abstinent to a degree. He did have Mary Magdalene eventually as his partner, and there's many stories of that in the Gnostic Gospels, which are interesting to look at if we're going to go beyond just what the regular biblical records show us. But even there, you still see how important his connection was to Mary and to also the other Marys, his mother, and as well as Mary Magdalene. So some interesting little codes in there for anyone that's listening. I hope that you are receiving this well, and that the love of the Most High can fill all of us with a little bit more practice and dedication to things that can uplift the spiritual potential for all life on earth as in heaven, as well as for one another to see that we each have a choice every day with what we want to attune ourselves to. What are we going to choose? We're going to tune to love here. We're going to tune to healing. We're going to tune to all the things that bring us into deeper states of feeling. And if you resonate with that, subscribe, hit the links in the description, reach out to us, get in contact, and let's put the good work and the good word forward.